Hi, everybody. It's December 7th, which is technically the start of the new month. So hopefully your winter season has been going well. I don't know about you, but seems like we were all kind of nervous going into October. And then I just feel like November, I don't know, just flew by. Now we're in December. We are now into the month of the rat. So very interesting. Again, you can always go back to my YouTube channel to look at all the previous episodes. If this is your first time joining the Zoom, I suggest perhaps going back to October and November. And then now if you're here for December, just to help you get in touch with the flow of the energy of this season. Here we are, December 7th. We're literally 3 weeks away from Christmas. But I love December, not just because it's Christmas, but because it is the arrival of the rat month. And the rat energy is like ocean water. And I'm going to bring you back to a time that we're all probably very familiar with. It's called 2020. The year 2020 was the year of the rat. All right. So a lot of the energy of December we're going to be familiar with already because we lived through, survived the year of 2020. There is a lot of sort of that anxiety or anxious energy that shows up in December. And, you know, the longer I've been doing this, I realize what it is. And it has to do with the fact that our Western society or just modern life is actually going against the natural flow of nature, right? When you think about what happens in winter, all of the animals are hibernating, right? They're pregnant, they're well-fed, they're fat, they're sleeping, right? They're resting. And everything else in the exterior world, like nature, the trees, the plants, the flowers, everything has decayed and died, right? Everything is at rest. You look at even the bodies of water, they're frozen. And what is covering the earth is snow, right? So everything is kind of hidden. And that's the natural flow state of the energy of winter. But for us, especially those that live in Arizona, winter is kind of like our most active time, right? We hibernate in the summer and then we get active in the winter because the weather is so nice. But also it's all of the holiday festivities where everything is kind of spastic, right? And so our efforts and our human behaviors and all the thoughts that kind of run through our brains, you know, a lot of companies, their fiscal year end is December 31st. All of their planning for the new year, budget season, you know, closing out the year. And then for us, like, you know, normal human being, we kind of run through the gamut of, oh, what am I going to prepare for 2024? And what are my goals and all the things, right? And so that kind of energy of what we do as humans is really not in cooperation with the natural flow of the winter season. That's why it brings up a lot of sort of this anxious energy. We don't feel very grounded. We feel extra depleted, tired, right? Sometimes we can't even think clearly. We just feel like we're going through the motion. We're just doing what we need to do. We're extra social, right? We're busy. There's so much going on. And so that's what happens in the winter season. So the emotions related to water is often associated with anxiety. But there's also this deep beauty when it comes to the water element, and which is one of my most favorite topics to talk about when we look at what the meaning of water element is it is very spiritual. It's transformative. It's full of wisdom and depth, right? So when you look at people whose BaZi chart is a water sign, right? If you are a yin water person or a yang water person, these people are curious beings. They kind of show up in life looking for the awes and the wonderment of it, right? And there's a deep sort of need to dig deep, you know, constantly searching, seeking, looking for the truth, wanting to learn more. And that's the beauty of the water system. I'm going to ask you guys, let me just mute that. So similar to 2020, right? We say that there's fear and anxiety when it comes to uncertainties. It's very similar to if you've ever swam in the ocean and you kind of get too far out and too deep. Suddenly you feel like, oh my gosh, where am I going? I don't feel like I belong here, right? What's underneath me? And the further deep that you go down to the ocean, it becomes darker and darker. You get closer and closer to blackness, right? To darkness. And there's mysteries to that, right? And are you the kind of person that love mysteries? You know, I like mystery movies and thrillers, but I'm talking about like in life, right? When was the last time when we fully embrace sort of the essence of mystery? It's like, what's coming next? But we look forward to it with great anticipation. Or are you the kind of person that's like a control freak? You got to know what tomorrow brings. You got to know what the future holds before you're willing to take the step, before you're willing to dive deep. So this water season is full of these kinds of themes. And what is on the other side of uncertainty or anxiety or nervousness is wisdom. You know, it's wisdom and truth and the true anchor of what it means to be alive. Okay, just hang on to that meaning for a moment. But we live in a society where we want to get to the end without really doing the hard work. And the hard work sometimes means we have to confront our fears. We have to confront the things that block us in order for us to get to the other side and to attain whatever that is at the end of it, right? Whether that is truth, knowledge, wisdom, right? And to be transformed by that. So think of like, how are you embodying this sort of hibernating season in your life? You know, when you think about hibernation, it's like you feel cozy, you know, you just feel nesty, you want to cocoon, right? There's a need to just kind of ground yourself in your home life. And if you do have a busy life because of all your social functions and your responsibilities during the holiday, really ask yourself, how am I incorporating, you know, moments of hibernation in my day, right? And I've talked about this before. Is it, you know, sleeping in an extra hour or going to bed an hour earlier than you normally do, right? Maybe it's simplifying your schedule, right? Not necessarily needing to fill it up with everything. Don't have to do everything, for example. And think of those animals when they're pregnant, right? They're pregnant. They don't know how many babies they have in their belly, right? Think of the big baby bear, mama bear, right? You don't know. She doesn't know how many bears she's carrying with her. And so there's this sort of anticipation for like getting ready for birthing season, which is the springtime. Okay.
Jen,
Yeah.
your sound went out.
My sound went out. Can you hear
All of a sudden, I can't hear you at all. You cut out.
Okay.
You're very, very faint. Can anybody else?
Can everybody? Oh, they can hear me just fine. So Kim, it might just be you.
That's weird. Huh. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So let's talk about the nobleman month. All right. So if you were born in the year of Yin Wood or Yin Earth, and I know the Chinese character kind of looks the same, but they're actually not the same. This is Yin Earth. Yin Earth actually has 3 strokes. Okay. And Yin Wood has 1 stroke. All right. They kind of look the same, but they're not. Or if you were born in the years ending 5 or 9, then that means December 7th, starting today, okay, is going to be your nobleman month. And similarly, if you were born on the day of Yin Wood and Yin Earth, you have to look at your actual BaZi chart to make that determination. So kind of ask yourself, all right, well, if I'm closing out the year, and I'm talking about the Gregorian calendar, December 31st, you know, where am I at? Where am I at on my goals, my progress? Where am I at on the things that I said I was going to do? Use this month to kind of step it up, one last chance, right? Make use of the nobleman month to say, what other contacts do I need to reach out to? What types of, endeavors can I kind of finish up, right? Or finalize, launch, right before the end of the year, to make use of that nobleman, having those conversations. Maybe you're inking something, like you're signing something, committing to something. It's a very good time for you to take advantage of the nobleman month in that regard. As per usual, we always have to look at the clash. All right. So this month is a clash to those that have a horse sign anywhere in their BaZi chart. You're born in the year, month, day, or hour of the horse. This is your clash. All right. I don't know if you guys know this, but I suffered a grade 3 sprain on my right foot. And so I've been on crutches for a while, and I can't put any pressure on my right foot, so I can't walk or drive really. And that happened to be on my quadruple clash day, quadruple, all right, which was very similar energy to when I fell down the mountain over the summer. Okay, so quadruple clash means it's the year of my clash, month of my clash, day of my clash, and hour of my clash. Right, so there's a lot of clashy clash energies. And so if you do have a clash, right, this is just something you have to pay attention to. It doesn't always mean physical injuries. Clashes can manifest in different ways. And we can talk about that here in a second. But I do want to remind everybody, and I'm going to put this slide up here for a second, is the rat being that ocean water energy is a reminder that it is the power of the kidney. This is the season of the kidney, okay? In Chinese medicine, we say kidney, not kidneys, right? Plural, even though there's 2 of them. Because in TCM, we actually look at both kidneys as one. We need them both. And I know in our Western medicine, sometimes we take out one, right? We donate one, we give it away, but we need them as a whole. And the reason why the kidney qi, the energy of the kidney, is so powerful, we actually call it the battery of life. This is the place where it stores our essence, what makes us who we are. It stores our true calling of our destiny, right? And it governs so many aspects of the body, our urinary tract, our reproductive system, our overall sort of nervous system, the bones in our body, and also our hearing, because the ears also, if you also follow face reading, the ears are also water element sign, okay? And obviously, because it's connected to our central nervous system, it also touches on our immune system and how our body regulates stress, okay? So when you feel like you're a little bit wishy-washy, you're having a difficult time making decisions, or when you do make decisions, you're always doubting yourself, or you're kind of like a scaredy cat, okay, I don't mean to offend anybody, but when you get really nervous, I had a student once, I was teaching a class and she was sitting near the window and there was a thunderstorm going on. We were in Florida and there was lightning, and she literally jumped out of her seat and just was so rattled by, the sound of the thunderstorm. Sometimes when you're that kind of person, you're you just get so rattled very easily. And for us, we say, oh, you're not really grounded, you got to root down, but it's actually the kidney energy is very weak, okay? And we can see that in a person's BaZi chart. Like when I teach the BaZi course, we have a section where we talk about health, and you can see that in someone's chart, where their kidney qi needs to be supported, all right? Either they have a lack of water in their chart or they have too much of it, okay? So the water element, I can go on, I can talk about the water element in terms of our health, how it impacts us psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually for hours and hours. But it's probably one of the most important elements when it comes to the balancing of the 5 elements in our body. And, we often also refer to this as the most inner stirrings of our emotional life. It's our spiritual being, of all of it, all of our thoughts, our dreams, our aspirations, the inspiration that come to us, all of that is connected to the water element. And so just imagine, again, pulling you back to the month of December, right? When the animals are hibernating, they're sleeping a lot. So they're probably dreaming a lot. And they're in a much more vulnerable state of surrender, right? Because you're resting, you're fully surrendering. And when you're fully surrendering, that's how you're more receptive to spirit. You're more receptive to knowledge, right? And the movement of spirit. But when you're running around like a crazy person and trying to control everything and trying to overdo everything, you're not really in that receiving mode, right? And so what do? You end up damaging your adrenals, because also the kidney is the adrenal, right? It helps to govern how we navigate stress and move through stress. So there's a lot here when it comes to the water season. And there's a sensitivity to the water season this year, because the rat sign has a relationship with the rabbit year, okay? The rat and the rabbit. And we're going to talk about that here in a second, because it's called a penalty. So anytime a particular animal sign has a connection, with another element, we say it's a big deal, because there's sensitivity, there's connection there. So I would just challenge you, as we go into the holiday season. I think for me, and I'll speak for myself, I think my ankle injury is in essence forcing me to slow down. I can't do as much, right? If I can't even drive. And so I've had to say no to quite a few social functions because I don't really like standing on the crutches, right? And so imagine, okay, then how do I cooperate with this flow state of slow, easygoing, kind of meandering energy, rather than this crazy dynamic, push, push, push energy that you tend to get sucked into doing. All right. This is just a review. We've talked about this in the past during the month of June. Again, because the rat and the horse have a clash relationship. When it comes to the body, this is talking about the lower extremities of the body. So this is starting from the hips all the way to the toes. So I am no exception. I think my ankle injury happened because of my BaZi chart and related to the quadruple clash. But imagine I'm kind of going into the month of December, tending to the lower extremities of my body. So this can be physical, like you can actually feel physical ailments in your lower extremities. So you might have knee pains. Maybe there's, what do you call this? Varicose veins that become more obvious in your legs, on your legs. Maybe your joints feel a little bit tighter. Maybe there's some aches and pains, things of maybe your lower back, right? Lower back is also very symbolic of the energy of the kidney. It talks about being supported in life. Okay, so if you feel like that's a little bit achy, then examine, different parts of your life to say, where am I feeling a lack of support, and where is that in my life, and who is that in my life? And then also, this is our sex organs as well, right? Because it's related to the reproductive system. And so if you, I haven't actually quite done the research on this, but there are a lot of people that get pregnant during the winter season, okay? So then there's a lot of birthing that happens, right? In August, September, July kind of time frame. And so there's active movement when it comes to the reproductive system here as well, but also a good time to check in, to see like, where am I at in my relationship, intimacy in my life, not just from a physical perspective, but also the emotional intimacy of that. So I'm just giving you examples of what to look at from the elemental perspective in every parts of life, right? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually. This was a chart that we looked at in the past. This is a young man. His name was Madison Cawthorn. I think he was a politician. I'm not really sure about his career now, but he is paralyzed from the waist down, okay? Because you see he has a rat sign, and he was in the luck of the horse between the age of 8 and 18. So during that time, he had a 10-year clash, right? And what happened was in the year 2014, which was also the year of the horse, so that would have been a double clash, right? He got into a car accident, survived the accident, okay? But unfortunately, came out and lost the functions of his legs. This rat, by the way, is his nobleman, okay? So when a clash happens like that, it can also activate the nobleman. So that's also one way of understanding like why people overcome certain hardships, right? So he was able to, he survived, but of course, like, you know, he had massive injuries, but he survived. And he's since been able to use, he still is a very productive, you know, functioning individual, just lost the functions of his legs. So we have to look at, you know, for example, President Biden was born in the year of the horse. You see, he has a horse sign here. So he needs to be very careful in the month of the rat, right? In December, because the whole month is his clash. And on top of that, he is, I think he turned 81. So he is in the middle of this luck, the luck of the goat. And the goat and the ox is already a clash, right? So there's a lot of things happening in Biden's life during this time, obviously becoming president, you know, traveling and doing all that kind of stuff. A lot of things are changing, but also very unstable, a lot of conflicts, right? Because it's clash. So his luck is already under clash. And then now the month is going to be a clash to the horse. And again, because this has something to do with lower extremities, we got to make sure Biden does not fall and really, really hurt himself, right? So stay tuned for that. Okay. Just a reminder, I haven't talked about this in a while, about clash, right? This is just kind of getting back to the basics of what clash means. Clash provokes change. So if you know you have a clash coming up, it doesn't matter if you don't want it, you don't like it, you're not ready for it. It's going to be there. It's coming. So you might as well embrace it, make best friends with it. You know, when I fell down the mountain over the summer, a really good friend of mine said, well, Jen, if you knew that it was your quadruple clash, like, why did you still climb up the mountain? Right. And I said, well, either I clash doing something I like, or I clash doing something boring. That's just my personality. You know, we still have to live life. We still have to be a functioning human being, okay? We learn BaZi not to control us and not to limit us, and certainly not to influence us to live in fear. It is simply just to shed light and awareness to what is happening in our life, okay? And then we make different adjustments. But at the end of the day, remember, BaZi is fixed, it's destiny. But what it doesn't account for is the human will. You still get to choose, right? So another person who may have my chart may choose to stay at home, but maybe something else happens at home. It's just a different environment, but the clash still comes, okay? So that's one of the sort of the lesson of learning more about clash, is to embrace it. And remember, clash is an important ingredient in life. It's responsible for creating new experiences. It's supposed to help us shed, simplify, to purge, you know, eliminate things that no longer need to be there. But because we humans, sometimes we are egotistical and we are biased, and we're often driven by different emotions that may not necessarily be to our benefit. The element of clash needs to have, we need it. Nobody is immune to clash. It's just that some of the clashes are more intense for other people than it is, right, for other people. Sometimes a clash is just like, oh, well, you know, my Wi-Fi went out, and so I can't have meetings. And then you have big clashes like people breaking up, or, you know, selling their houses, relocating to a new location, right? Or experiencing more significant changes in their life. So embrace it and say, okay, if I know, and this goes the same for 2024, like we're just around the corner to a new year, and that new year is going to be a clash for some people, right? So it's like, okay, well, I know it's going to be here. Then what do I need to do to prepare for that? And what am I ready to let go with the clash? Very important to feng shui your house, especially when you're under clash. When you're under clash, it means your personal energy is very sensitive. You're more receptive to the inner workings or the flow of energy in your spaces. And so when you do have a clash, you really have to pay attention to where you sleep, especially because when you're sleeping is when the body restores itself. But also if you have a home office and you spend a lot of time in that space, right? So we just want to attend to that, all right? To minimize any additional disruption that could happen in your life. And if you've followed me for some time, and I've lectured this often, remember there's the hierarchy, right? First is destiny, then man, then feng shui, right? So if destiny, the top says you have a clash, here we go. Then man is your choice. All right, I'm going to make better decision. I'm going to be more patient. I'm going to be very methodical in my decision making. Then feng shui, okay? Take care of the feng shui of your house. And it's normal to have disruptions and mishaps when you're under clash. You know, I work with a lot and I coach a lot of people who experience clashes and they get very angry. They get very frustrated, you know, oh man, I should have just changed it. Why did I do that? Sometimes it just is, you know what I mean? And when I have a client, for example, that comes to me and said, oh my gosh, Jen, it's crazy. It's wild. Everything exploded. And I look at the chart and I see that it's a clash. And I'm like, okay, good. That means you're in alignment. Imagine that. Even in the disruption of it all, we can still be in alignment just because, you know, being in alignment doesn't mean everything is like perfect. That's not it. Sometimes we are in alignment even when things are crazy, when things are being disrupted. So the important part is to remain flexible and to be open, right? So when I have a client that has a clash, I always tell them to leave room for unexpected things. So if you're the kind of person that like to jam pack your schedule, right? You want to get everything done, you want to do everything. Well, when one hiccup, like maybe your appointment runs long, maybe you can't find your keys, maybe you have a flat tire, right? So then it kind of spirals into everything else. It kind of ruins your day, right? Because then everything gets discombobulated. But if you leave some room, right, for these unexpected events, then maybe it doesn't feel too bad, right? You don't feel too agitated about it because you have a little bit more space. It's normal to feel anxious and restless, okay? I think we are a society that when we get uncomfortable, we just want to get away from it and we want to fix it right away. You know, oh my gosh, I don't know what my future holds, so I have to figure it out. Well, sometimes there's beauty in the unknowing. There's beauty in that kind of in-between space, you know, that limbo space of just letting yourself be and letting yourself marinate in that in-between. So it's the same thing when you feel restless and anxious. We always feel like, oh my gosh, I need to, you know, get rid of this feeling. I got to do something to fix that. I don't want to feel this anxious and restless, whether that is, you know, grabbing extra martini or this whatever medication, you know, to try to fix it. No, that's why you learn BaZi. So if you understand, okay, this is the state that I'm supposed to be in for this time frame, then I can accept, right, and cooperate with this energy, right? And how do I move through that energy with more grace rather than fighting it, getting angry, you know, and it only adds up, right? All the icky poo-poo stuff start to add up when you fight against it. So it's normal to feel restless and anxious. And when you're under clash, you don't sleep well, you know? Maybe you wake up more in the middle of the night. Maybe you can't fall asleep. You don't have restful sleep. Maybe you have vivid dreams, for example. These are all normal when you're under clash, okay? But it's a good time to make a change, right? That's the invitation of the clash to say, hey, what do you want to change in your life? It can be small or it can be really dramatic, okay? But if it's just 1 month, the change is just 1 month, then you kind of have to like, you know, look at the perspective of that. Maybe it's just a simple change. I have some people, some of my clients, they like to purge, they like to move through their spaces. So they donate clothes, they clean up stuff. So that in and of itself can be a change, okay? And trust the change, okay? So when things are popping up and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm being forced to change, or I'm being forced to do something different, trust it, okay? Instead of analyzing like, why is this happening? Why now? Why me? Right? All of the things that we do. Instead of wasting time and energy trying to do that, perhaps you can just trust it and say, this is an invitation. This is the perfect time. This is my season where these changes are happening. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the relationship penalty energy that pops up this month, okay? Because this is the month of the rat, and the rat, like I said earlier, has a relationship with the rabbit. And I talked about this at the beginning of the year, at the Chinese New Year talk, like back in January. So we're just kind of revisiting this. Here we are, nearing the end of this rabbit year. We have one last go when it comes to our relationship. And I said that the rabbit year was all about relationships because it's a peach blossom energy. It's all about our connection with others, friendships, our family, relationship with ourselves, our community. Well, relationship penalty is the opposite of all things love and harmony, right? So penalty means it brings disruption and hardship into the relationship. So these are just examples. These are just like, gosh, we're miscommunicating. We're not on the same page. Perhaps you're finding out things about others that like their true colors, for instance, okay? Maybe there's toxicity in the relationship that you didn't see or notice before, okay? But it's starting to come to the surface. Think about it not just for the month of December, but think about it for the whole year. Okay, really want you to think about your relationships, the people that you interact with. And it also brings up like sort of this dysfunction, in how people, treat each other, for example. And so it just makes things a little bit more difficult in relationships. So I want you to kind of, as we're moving into the holiday season, getting ready for the new year, preparing for the new dragon year that's coming up, maybe one of the reflections that you can add to your list is to think about all the people that you got to interact with. Maybe not all, of course, not all you can. The significant people that showed up in your life, good, bad, ugly, and messy ones, okay? The good and happy ones, you give thanks for those, right? Thank you for, wow, I didn't realize that person would be there for me, but they showed up in ways that I never expected. Thank you, right? My relationship with myself is stronger than ever. Thank you, right? I made new friends that actually I didn't think, at this age, I'd be able to make new friends, right? Thank you, okay? I made new contacts for my business that actually is shifting my business, allowing my business to scale or to grow. Thank you, all right? Those are easy, right? When they're good, they're easy to like give thanks. But then now I want you to think about the icky poo poo ones, the ones that really, get ya, that jerk, that negative Nelly, whatever, all fill in the blanks, right? And I want you to decompress that. I want you to hold a little space during this holiday season, just to reflect on those relationships and say, what lessons was I gifted because of those relationships? And some of those relationships can be repaired and restored and reconciled, right? But you just have more clarity of like, oh, I need different boundaries with that person, maybe I need to be more clear in my expectations with that relationship, right? Or it just simply means I'm done, right? I'm done. Am I at peace with that ending, right? Did I resolve that relationship in its finality with compassion, and kindness, right? And remember, this relationship year is also an opportunity, not just like to fall in love and to make new friends and, get publicity for your business, but it's an opportunity for healing in relationships. And when you think about like what's going on in the world, right? We're talking about like our country and our government, the politics and all of that. There's been so much hardships and division around people, how we treat each other, how we talk to each other, how we cancel each other, how we not love each other, right? And so it's not random that we are in this space right now where we're really needing to say, can I look past all of those things to just love that person, right? Can I look past at all the things that this person said to me or that how that person treated me to forgive that person, So it's a very, I'm getting kind of deep with it because that is sort of the theme coming into the month of December. Again, that's the wisdom of the water element. And because that is the theme of 2023, I want you to kind of wrap up this year, all the culmination of all those connections and relationships and say a prayer over them or do a ritual or, how are you going to honor and celebrate all of those connections? Okay. Now, if you have a rabbit sign anywhere in your BaZi chart, December is going to hit you more, right? Because it has a more direct impact to your chart. So you'll have to look at your BaZi chart and ask yourself, do I have a rabbit sign? Because if I do, then that means I have a double relationship penalty because this is the rabbit year. We are in the rabbit year. And then if you also have rabbit signs anywhere in your chart, that means you have 2 relationship penalty, okay? So if things happen at the dinner table, right? Or you don't get invited to some holiday party that you were expecting, right? You just kind of know, okay, it's the relationship penalty. What are the elements trying to reveal to me? What am I supposed to learn and know from this? Okay. All right. So one thing I do want to say about relationship penalty, because we're all kind of very susceptible to this now, is don't sweat the small stuff. If somebody said the wrong thing just by accident, just let it go, right? Don't sweat the small stuff. But, we always talk about communicating clearly, but sometimes it's difficult to communicate clearly if you don't know what it is that you're trying to communicate, right? And the only way for you to receive clarity on what's bothering you is to have the space to be able to think through that and to be able to decompress from that. And that goes back to my message from the beginning of this workshop about creating space and hibernating, right? And leaving room in your schedule, right? To just be able to be with your thoughts. And so if there is a person that's really you're not getting along with and you're kind of bickering, you know what I mean? I think it's really important for you to get to the bottom of it and say, what is it bothering you? And even better, offer up a solution. What is it that you need then from that person? Maybe you just need that person to shut up and listen, right? Maybe that person likes to give advice, but really what's bothering you is you just need them to be quiet and to listen, right? And so you should be able to articulate that and then also offer up some kind of a solution, which is, what is it that I need from this person? Prioritize one issue at a time, okay? When we're very frantic and everything starts to bother us and irritate us, we start throwing spaghetti everywhere, okay? Again, not productive. Get to the root of it. What is really the most important issue? When I was coaching this one couple, they're talking about they're not getting along because they run a business together and he wants her to do this, she wants him to do that. And, and they're worried about money and she wants a kid. He's not ready for a kid. It's like, holy cow, there's a lot of crap here. But at the end of the day, what was really the root cause of all this bickering was they were worried about money. Okay. So then the solution is, well, then what do we need to come up with as a solution to alleviate our worries around finances. Because once the finance piece is taken care of, then they're not at each other's throat running the business. Then they're more open and receptive and cooperative to doing what they need to do on their part for the business. And then the anxiety around starting a family, is a little bit alleviated, because then they feel more financially secure. So this is just an invitation to kind of like root out, all of it and get to the bottom of really what is the biggest gripe. And of course, we all know this: avoid blaming, judging, shaming, all of that, right? But when we have relationship penalty, we can't see clearly, we can't think clearly when we're in that energetic space. So it requires more on your part to catch yourself, to be like, oh, I said the wrong thing. You know what I mean? And but that's practice, right? If you've worked on yourself, if you have tools, right, and you have experience working with a coach or a therapist or something like this to anchor you down, only then are you able to see those negative behaviors and you can catch them in real time. And trust your instincts. It's a beautiful time to practice our intuition and to trust the truth and the answers that lie at the pit of our stomach, at the core of who we are as humans. This is such an important practice now that we're moving into the dragon year, which is a very spiritual year. So just listen to your instincts, listen to your intuition, especially if you're trying to get to the root of what's really bothering you. I think it's good to sit with your intuition and get clarity on that. If you made a promise, okay, if you both came up with an action plan to do, follow through, okay? This goes the same for anything negative, all right? I'm not going to get into the specifics here, but I've heard a lot, working with clients, you say you're going to do this, and then you say you're going to do that, and then we never follow through, okay? Stop that. Because when you're in the relationship penalty, it will only aggravate. And remember what I said is we want to set ourselves up to the best possible position going into the new year. You don't want to bring excess garbage or excess baggage, right, from the previous year into 2024, right? So go back to what conversations you've had with your partner, your business partner, your children, your friends, right? You always say you're going to come visit me, but you never visit me, right? So the weight, the integrity of your words, we need to go back to that, okay? Proactively take responsibility when one is due. This is just my long drawn way of saying, say sorry. I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry I made you feel this way, right? I won't do it again, right? We're a very prideful kind of community of human species, I should say, and it's very difficult for us to admit when we are wrong, right? To humble ourselves that way. But it is so important, especially to help de-escalate any kind of, ongoing relationship penalty that's coming up. Of course, when it is due, right? You're not just saying sorry when it's clearly not your fault. But when it is, we need to own up to that. Invite an objective mediator if necessary. This would be like, if there is something major. I've had several clients this year, for example, who entered into a business relationship and ended up breaking up. So the objective mediator sometimes is an attorney, okay? If you're in a marriage, sometimes that is a mediator or a counselor, as an example. If there's something going on between parents and children, sometimes that is a teacher or a psychologist, okay, for the child. And so sometimes that is necessary, and be open to that if that's the point that you need to get to in order to move through this relationship penalty. Distance is really important. This just means boundaries, okay? And then finally, trust what is being revealed to you. So similar to what the clash is trying to show you, if this particular year and this coming month, things are being shown to you about people and the relationships in your life, trust that, okay? To be like, what is the universe trying to tell me? Maybe I need to break that habit of always inviting those kinds of people into my life, right? Or maybe this is affirming that I need to be more articulate, in what I'm trying to ask for, right? Or maybe this is showing me that I need to trust my instincts more before, inviting this person into my life. Okay, so trust what is being revealed to you. I love this quote. You will find peace not by trying to escape your problems, but by confronting them courageously. All right. That is the theme of the water. That is the summit of the water season, is courage. Okay. Courageous enough to step away, courageous enough to hibernate, courageous enough to be in the mystery. Okay. So that's that. I'm going to skip through this. This is a slide from last month because I was just doing a summary of the winter season. Remember that November kind of signifies the start of the winter season with like the first, snowflakes falling from the sky. Okay. Well, now that we're in December, like I said, is the peak of the winter season. So think of this as snow covered everything. Okay, so it is full on winter. Everything in nature has fallen asleep. There is stillness and silence. Water is cleansing, it's purifying, it's life-giving. If you think about, how the earth is 70% water, our bodies are 70% water. We use water to bless items. We use water to baptize, babies. We use water to clean things, right? To hydrate the body, right? There's so much power to this water energy. And a lot of cultures around the world, whether that's, kind of like a cultural belief or a religious belief, we believe that water is healing. It's a healing factor. And so it also has the ability to absorb our prayers, to cleanse unwanted energy, and to bring good medicine into our life. And so, but the other catchword for water is transformation, right? It's like, wow, transformation sounds great, but what is it transforming? Usually it means it's transforming itself from madness, right? Chaos and destruction into something else that's beautiful, right? But you have to go through that destructive phase first before you can build something new. Just like you can only attain wisdom by confronting your fears head on, okay? So embrace the mystery and the anticipation of what's to come. All right, so again, this is one last reminder. If you're here live, put your email address in the chat box so you get a $20 credit towards one 60-minute BaZi session, and it expires at the end of the rabbit year, which is February 3rd. And then you can just email me when you're ready to redeem. We're not going to have a BaZi talk in January, okay, for the month of the ox. I am going to do some postings on Instagram and Facebook for the energy of January, the ox month, but I'm not going to hold a free BaZi talk. Instead, because we're going to be doing the Chinese New Year talk for the Year of the Dragon. We're going to be preparing for that. So this is the 11th consecutive year that I'm going to be offering this. We have 2 dates. If you are joining us via Zoom, it will be on the 25th of January. But then we also will do it in person. And whenever you come in person, you always get extra treats and extra side conversations that, we don't get to capture when we are in a virtual space. So you can go on my website to register for that now. Again, the in-person seats are limited. So the sooner you can reserve, the better. Final call for anyone that's interested in learning BaZi more formally. I do have a small handful of people that are interested, but maybe the January timeframe doesn't work. I'm willing to make some adjustments around that if we can get an agreement between the group on what works. Okay, so finally, just a quick run through to Feng Shui. This is very, very important because we have some interesting Feng Shui combinations happening in the month of December. As you can see, in the east sector of our house, we have sickness and misfortune pairing up together, all right? So if this is your clash, you gotta see Where is this 2-5 energy in my house? What is in the east side of my house? If this is your bedroom, your front door, your kitchen, your home office, basically any space that you spend a lot of time in, okay, or consider it an important area of your house, you need to move your wind chimes, put your wind chime in the east side to take care of that combination. I don't have a lot of time. I'm trying to be mindful of people's time here, but remember in the past when I've talked about things happening that are very difficult, this is always the combination of 2-5, 5-2, 2-5, 2-5, like this 5-5, 2-2. All right. This is an example. So in the month of December, we really do need to take care of the east side. The second one is in the south. The south is the sickness is pairing up with the stomach. Okay, so this is our digestive system, our intuition, our groundedness, our spiritual works, our immune system, the cells in the body, because these are all earth signs. Okay, so move your 6 metal coins into the south sector of your house. Again, if you have multi-level, if you have 2 floors, for example, you need one in the bottom and one in the second floor. Okay, treat each individual room as its own standalone. Okay. Again, if you missed the talk on period 9, very, very important. Period 9 officially begins when the dragon year arrives. And this is a brand new cycle. Just think of it as the world, the universe is experiencing a new luck cycle. All right. This whole new 20-year luck. And it's significant. So the recording was recorded last month, but you can still purchase it for $59. You just go on my website to check that out. Again, in preparation for the new year, if you're interested in Feng Shui, your real estate deals, or any kind of renovation and changes that's happening in your home, I would encourage you to consider adding Feng Shui as part of that process as well. And finally, we have the class, Feng Shui class in May. All of that is on my website. We are right at the hour mark. Are there any questions? Did everybody capture their emails? Okay. If you have questions, you can put it in the chat box or unmute yourself. Otherwise, folks, we're good. We got through the rat month. And I hope to connect with you in January, either for your BaZis or the Chinese New Year talk. Okay. Happy holidays. Yes, indeed. And make sure you follow me on Instagram and Facebook for all of the postings. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.